Hey everybody, it's Mike Meyers and
Richard Chapman.
welcome to another version of Two Bald Nerds. Welcome everybody. Our goal is to talk about all kinds of different type of nerdy technologies, and today I believe it's going to be malware, right? Or lack thereof, hopefully.
Yeah, anti-malware, anti-virus, what's the difference? All that fun stuff. Yeah, should be interesting.
So I got to warn everybody, in this particular episode, Richard is going to be more of the enterprise expert, and we're both pretty good on a personal level. I just spend more time and spend too much money trying different types of anti-malware tools. So Richard, can I pretend to be the Soho expert for the day?
Oh, you don't even have to pretend. Just be that, because that's you're good.
I was going to say something crazy. It's all right. No, we're good. We're good. All right, keep it. It was. Yeah. All right. So anyway,
listen. You tell me when I have crazy thoughts to just go ahead and spit them out. So I mean, you should do the same, right?
You don't know what goes on in my brain, man. Don't ever say that to me.
You don't want to be in there, right?
Godzilla would run away. All right. Let's talk about some anti-malware, because I got to tell you, this is a big and frustrating issue. I don't like talking about anti-malware, to be honest with you, but like for me, the biggest issue we have is to say anti-malware is almost meaningless anymore. You can't find tools that are pure anti-malware tools anymore. They almost don't exist. I mean, today it's just, in fact, I'm going to use a term, I think I invented this, system security. So when we're looking at it primarily in the Windows environment, your options are crazy right now. There is no such thing as an anti-malware tool anymore. They're going to be doing all kinds of other features. And if you don't mind, can we talk about the features?
Yeah,
let me do that. Let me do that. Because right now, I tried to do a little count before we had our talk, and I counted about 20, what I'd say mainstream anti-malware type tools that exist, system security tools. And anybody listening, I mean, if I say Norton's or Kaspersky or, everybody knows those names.
Bitdefender, Malwarebytes, Avast.
You got it. But the problem is they're competitors, and they're aggressively marketing to each other, and they create features with proprietary names that make no sense to a normal person. And you're like, what do I need? There's all these, what are these things? So what I'd like to do is I've made a PowerPoint presentation, Richard.
Are we going to have death by PowerPoint today? Don't give me any trouble,
okay?
Are we going to have death by PowerPoint, Mike?
No, you're going to have life by PowerPoint. Life, live, I say. So can I go ahead and let me steal the screen for a minute here?
Yeah,
and,
go for it.
Let's do our little. Let me give this a quick presentation, real quick.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. So how's that screen look, man?
Good. I can see your example slides and the main slide. So whenever you're ready to actually start the slideshow itself, there we go.
How does that look, Richard?
That looks perfect.
Okay. All right. So what I want to do is talk about the features that you see in system security software today. Okay. And let's break that down and then talk about what they do. And then let's talk about what do you need, because this is always the big issue. So the first thing I want to talk about, probably the most important one, is what I'm going to call online or real-time. Everybody's got a different name for this, okay? Monitoring. And in a individual system environment, that invariably manifests as some type of tool that's looking at anything coming in or out of the computer. And so this is always going to be signature-based type of stuff. It's looking for anything that might point towards naughtiness. So when I say naughtiness, it could be malware, it could be all kinds of stuff as well too. The other thing, and people forget about this, and this is system scanning. It's great to have online, but sometimes you're like, oh man, I think I've got malware. So now you want to unplug your system from the network and you want to scan the system. You want something that's going to go into your storage, check everything out, and know whether you've got something naughty in there.
That's normally when people start looking up an antivirus or an anti-malware application, is when they think they have something on their device.
Yeah, well, that's a problem too. Let me talk about that. So a lot of times today, we still keep email protection as a separate issue. Although I need to warn you, on some tools, even the emails that are coming in and out of a system can be treated as online or real-time scanning. So depending on who's anti-malware system security that you're looking for, 1 and 3 can stumble together. Internet security is a weird thing, but it's an important one. A lot of times when you see internet security, what they're talking about isn't necessarily a malware or anything like that. And this definition can vary between different system security products. Is what they're looking for is, on some, this could be like phishing or text, or somebody doing an old school attack into the system, or open ports or stuff like that. So that's going to be separate from online or real-time monitoring, in that it's still online and real-time, but it's looking for specific non-malware type things. And then I went ahead and put phishing and ransomware as a separate tool, in particular, where you have like these boot sector tools and stuff like that that have infected the system, and all of a sudden you get a pop-up that says, send me, 0.025 Bitcoins to an address type of stuff. And that would be where system scanning would come into play. But a lot of times you'll see different system security tools that catch that. They're looking specifically for those types of tools. And the last one, this is a big one, and this is, does your system security tool provide you a way to make bootable or live CD, sometimes you hear the term live boot. Basically, does it allow you to make usually a bootable thumb drive? It creates an ISO file that you can boot from, and that way you're running your scanning tools on a device that isn't being infected. Do you understand the difference there? Sometimes that's subtle, but it's critical. I think this last point, Richard, is the most important thing, and it's overlooked on so many systems. Okay, so those are the critical features. Now here's the features that you might want. I guarantee you that pretty much every system security tool adds a lot of certain kind of ware that sounds like ware. And well, but people might like them. For example, does your solution have Mac or Linux support? People sitting there saying that Macs don't get malware are in a fool's paradise. It does happen. Ad blockers, which can be extremely attractive. Personally, I like the ad blockers that are built into my browsers that I've configured, but you can get them this way too. VPNs. This is a big area that every system security tool out there has some kind of VPN feature. Backups, cloud backups, system backups, that kind of stuff. Richard, as I'm saying this, do you recognize that almost all of these are standalone products as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Password managers, there you go again. File shredding, file deletion, whatever. Parental controls, and some kind of performance tuning, tweak your system kind of stuff. These features are nice, and maybe you like them, maybe I don't. But these are the things you're looking for when you're trying to choose the system security solution for you, and you have to make your own choices. And of course, I forget mobile tools. I always do this. Mobile tools are interesting. You're an Android guy, right?
Yeah.
There's something about you I liked. I knew it was. Android does have malware issues. And if I can buy one package that's not only protecting my Windows systems, but also protecting my mobile devices, that could be something that would be attractive to me.
Exactly.
But here's the gotcha, Richard. We got to talk about pricing, because the competitive nature of system security right now is so bad that it's hard to deal with. So every one of these developers has some kind of multi-tier. Nobody sells one package anymore. You're going to have some free or trial basic version. And for the record, the days of quality, free anti-malware tools is pretty much gone. I'm not saying it's completely gone. You need to start thinking about maybe buying stuff if you haven't already. Then you're going to have some kind of mid-range version. And Richard, what we're talking about is all those little extras we just saw. That's where they start adding the stuff in there. And then invariably, they've got some high-end, the works that just, puts it all in there, everything you could possibly need. And this is going to be part of your purchasing decision process is, what are the tools I need? The other thing you're going to see a lot of times is what I call multi-system pricing. This is extremely common today, where what's going to be handy is you can get a license for 3 systems or a license for 5 systems. And these can sometimes be really handy, but you got to read the fine print on that stuff. Exactly what it allows them to do. Are they phoning at home or talking to each other? But just be aware that that's there. So what do we do about this? Well, number one, consider all of these features, and you got to decide what do you want and what you don't want. Also, check reviews. Just type in, malware reviews. You got to be careful with this. You talking like best Windows anti-malware, and the first 3 hits you're going to get are going to be basically advertisements. So be careful.
I was about to say, you can't trust those. And, for a long time, that was how you switched antivirus and applications over the years, was who's on top this year. It's Norton this year, or it's McAfee this year. And that's who a lot of people went with. But marketing has really kind of messed with that quite a bit.
It's fuzzy. It's fuzzy.
Yeah.
So, but part of that reviews, think about the features that you want. And the other one that people forget about is performance. Every system security software out there is going to take a hit on your system. And some of them are worse than others. Norton's, for example, was notorious for eating system resources, but they're better. Avast was notorious for eating system resources, but they're much better. So you can't just go by something you do. Whatever you knew 3 years ago or 2 years ago isn't necessarily true today. So you can't just go with a label and knowing you're in the right spot.
Hey, McAfee was really good about giving you all kinds of additional features you didn't want. There used to be all kinds of browser add-ins and extra, applications and so forth that they were associated with. And that's how they were trying to put additional features out there to try to gain some sort of an edge on the other companies. Big time. I agree. It's a very highly competitive industry, actually.
It's insane right now. It's a battle. And of course, price. Be sure to read the fine print and see what other people are learning about. I got this for, $3 and some naval lint, and now this year they're charging me $4 million. So you got to be careful with that. Also, look at a multi-system pricing. I got to tell you, that could be a very good deal. And it's extremely common across every solution today. But if you only have one system, only pay for one,
Yeah.
And then you got to be careful what I call loss leaders, what I just described, where you're like, oh, it's only $3. And you're like, yay. And you didn't bother reading the sales. And all of a sudden you discover that the next year, almost everybody does this. I have no problem with that as a loss leader, but make sure you read what your second year is going to cost so you know what your real costs are. And yeah, they'll get you on following years. Okay. So
debate.
This is where people get frustrated because I talk about that and they're like, well, Mike, can you at least point me in the right direction? So I'm going to throw some names out for you to consider. This is not in any particular order, nor is it exhaustive. Okay. So Richard, you may want to add to this. I don't know. Yeah. Microsoft Defender, the built-in tool that comes with Windows and absolutely free. Now be careful. There's a Microsoft Defender Enterprise, which is a whole different kettle of fish. Yep. And I might have to defer to you on that. Bitdefender is popular and out there. Avast it used to be great, then it became terrible, and now it's becoming great again in terms of system performance. Kaspersky is a longtime player out there, always does a good job, tends to be a little spendy sometimes. Trend Micro, also been out for a long time. And F-Secure, these are just names. You should be looking at these. Pretty much anybody who's going to be comparing system security is going to be looking at these. So though, I'm assuming that almost all of those were familiar to you, right, Richard? I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Is there any obvious ones that I missed on your personal list?
The only other one that I had on the top of my head was AVG, just because, that's one of the ones I've used in the past, and that's back in the days when they were free, right? So AVG was actually at the time the best free antivirus you could have.
AVG had a long run like that. It sure did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it's off my radar. So This is why I'm telling everybody, you got to do some of your own research. You can't go totally with what we say. So,
well, and the challenge there, and it's what I was getting to earlier, you really do have to look at these, because there's so much marketing and so many partnerships and so forth out there. You can find different advertisements about who's the top 5 applications on many different sites, and they all choose different leaders. They all choose different number ones. You know, same year, 2022. I bet you can find one that probably has Bitdefender as number 1, one that'll probably have Norton as number 1. I mean, it's challenging for normal everyday people.
So one of the tools, I hate to advertise specific tools, but one tool in particular is, let me pull it up. This is an add-on. I'm a Firefox guy, and I get pretty picky about stuff like this, and I may surprise you with what I'm about to say. A lot of times when you're looking for a product and you want to get the best price, Capital One Shopping Online. Have you heard about this add-on?
Yeah, I actually use it.
Do you? I'm terrified of those types of things. It's kind of Big Brother, but especially here, since we're filming this one in early December, with the holiday stuff coming on, and I had to get you a Christmas present, right? So
Oh no,
I'm lying.
that's okay. I'll just take yours back.
Oh darn! But I needed that razor so bad. But the Capital One tool is surprisingly good. I have not done a telemetry on it, so I don't know exactly what it's phoning home, but it seems innocuous based on, I containerize it and stuff like that. And but I got to tell you, as part of my research for this episode, looking at prices and such, it was shocking. I'm addressing exactly what you're saying, where one place it'll be $1 bazillion and another place it'll be $2. That add-on is absolutely amazing. And by the way, you can get, great deals on eBay and Amazon too. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How much of what I said affects the more enterprise environment? What did I say here that made you go, oh yeah?
Everything that you're talking about from a personal computer happens on an enterprise computer as well. It's the same kind of idea.
So at CyberNow Labs, we're using like Splunk is probably taking the biggest chunk of that. Is that accurate?
No. So in our environment, we have 2 different EDR tools that we use. We have SentinelOne and we have CrowdStrike. And in essence, they're like super beefed up antivirus, anti-malware applications. And the big difference between them is they have an agent that gets installed on every endpoint, so every computer, every laptop, desktop, server, all that. And they actually communicate back to the management console that is then monitored by analysts.
Would an EDR tool like that replace my desire to put my own tool on my system in a corporate environment?
Yeah, generally you won't put an antivirus application on there along with that EDR. It's kind of one or the other scenario. Okay. Plus also too, keep in mind in an enterprise environment, you're also dealing with enterprise grade firewalls. So you've got that kind of working to help protect you as well too. So it's the same idea, just on a bigger scale, on a grander scale.
So, okay, now because I can say the word EDR, but that's about it. So how do you deal with, do EDRs update similar to the Soho products?
All the time. And they also use active threat intelligence. The big plus with EDR tools is they are much more right now. In other words, they're going to be a lot more up to date is probably the easiest way to put it. You think back 15 years ago, a signature of a malicious file was not as easy to identify across the entire globe within minutes or seconds. So signature-based detections were much more commonplace. Now, signature-based detection, so in other words, if a known malicious file has a bad hash, it's very easy to put that out on the internet on an open source intelligence tool and say, hey, this file, if you see it, it's bad. that is still there. But some of the more advanced activities are less than advertising. They're not saying, hey, I'm bad. They don't have a bad hash. They're doing bad things with legitimate applications. And that's more of a behavior. That's more of the, what are they doing as opposed to what is the file that's doing it. So it's a little bit.
So an EDR solution is going to be more robust for the 0 days and that kind of stuff. That is a problem with the products that I was describing. And it's always been a problem, is most of them auto update and bring down new signature files and such, but you're only as good as your last update. And that can be a challenge in a small office, home office environment.
In the EDR, they're much more real time. I mean, they really are. Like if you take your antivirus application, you have to update your definitions. So like every day or every week at bare minimum, you're updating your definitions of known malicious files, right? You don't need to do that in an EDR. It's constantly being updated. You can add to it, and it puts it right in there right away as well too. If you
let me qualify. Let me defend the Soho side a little bit on that. Is that you're not reduced to manual updates once every 30 days. Even in the Soho world, most of them phone home for updates. They definitely have their patch Tuesdays and that kind of thing as well. But it can be days update, whereas EDR is as quick as things happen, right?
Yeah. Minutes, yeah, literally.
Well, Richard, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say they're also looking at EDR is also looking at the more advanced attacks, ransomwares and new, like you said, the 0 days. They're definitely more sophisticated from that perspective.
Well, and that's why we need good SOC analysts to be monitoring those types of tools. In a home environment, I'm the first and last line of defense, but I think that's why it's critical for companies like CyberNow Labs to be developing programs that allow students to not only understand what EDR stands for, but to actually see it in action and understanding how to react. And one more reason I love CyberNow Labs so much there, Richard. Hey, well, I'm sorry I wasn't able to give you your perfect answer on this. I know people get frustrated because they're like, just tell me which one to buy. And I refuse to do that. You've got to look at features and make your own decisions. And, if it's possible, if you're watching this and you can post a comment, I would love to hear what you're using. And I think it'd be kind of fun to do a straw poll on this, see if we can get enough people to get some ideas on how and what people are using and why. So consider that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what people are using that are watching the videos as well too. Like I have no problem with telling people what I use at home. So it doesn't bother me one bit. I'm not generally a target people are going to come after, although that might be a bad thing to say because I might be welcoming some stuff there. But first off, I do like the Windows Defender. I think it does a really good job right off the bat. And then on top of that, I have Malwarebytes, and I actually do subscribe to the multi-device protection, and I do have the premium, and it costs me like $3 and change a month. Works quite well, and I've had a lot of success with it. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I was never really a big person to say, oh, just trust, something that Microsoft put in Windows. I was never that person, but I will tell you, when you start creating virtual Windows environments, and you start trying to detonate malware inside of that environment, you'll realize how good Windows Defender actually really kind of is. It's actually really not bad. And they've added a lot more features in the latest versions, which actually will look at some of the more like ransomware attacks and even, real deep memory attacks inside of PCs, which aren't really very likely, but they can happen. But yeah, pretty cool stuff.
The only thing I'm going to add to that, Richard, is Microsoft Defender also has the ability to make a bootable device that you can then scan a system. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of not creating that. And it can, that most of the time, the reason people get interested in anti-malware is they caught something. And, to do a proper scan on a thumb drive that is not where the malware is so important.
Yeah.
Make one of those, guys.
Agree. Yeah, I will say one of the best ways that you can set up your environment though is layers in defense. You know, if you're using Windows Defender and then you've got an anti-malware like Malwarebytes or Bitdefender or one of them, that's all great. Make sure you're updating your security features and maintaining your security features in your browser. I mean, when you kind of layer all those in there, you're really setting yourself up to protect yourself quite well.
And and let me add the most important layer. You
don't be silly. Don't click on bad things. Don't go to bad sites. Use your brain.
Yes. Like they say in the airport, do not accept any packets from someone you do not know well.
You know that they have to say that there because people have done exactly that.
Yeah, because people are, walking up, hey, look at this. Maybe it's a VCR. No, okay.
It's funny. My daughter's 15 years old and she has her own little business making t-shirts and stickers and things like that. And she does really, really well. But I have a thing on my wall that she actually made and printed for me. It says, warning, think before you click.
There you go.
It's like it's the best advice that you could give somebody.
And I know everybody's already starting to tune out because we say this, but you know why we have to say it over and over, folks? Because no matter how many times we say it, there's always one person going, I want $1 million, click. It's like, come on, man.
Well, that's why I think something like 50% of successful attacks in enterprise environments come from malicious phishing emails. I mean, that means the user clicked on something. The user went somewhere they shouldn't have gone.
Yeah, and they're getting more sophisticated all the time. So
they are. Oh my gosh. I have seen some amazing phishing emails, and we can talk about that another time, where they legitimately were able to do enough reconnaissance to create a landing page that looked exactly like the organization's landing page. I mean, just amazing stuff.
That's the easy part. It's the incoming email that I got an email from Richard Chapman talking about we're having a problem with your Microsoft 365 account. Could you redo a quick re-log in? And it's like, exactly. How did they find you? How did they find that you and I know each other? And stuff like that. I'm saying that has not happened at CyberNow Labs, of course. I'm saying other entities, but it's a concern, to say the least.
It does happen.
All right, folks, I think we got this one covered. Please, if you're watching this on a thing that provides commentary, add some more commentary. We're always interested in what people are using these days, and be sure to tune in. We got a bunch of new Two Bald Nerds episodes coming up here in the next few weeks, and please tune in. You're going to find it extremely exciting. But for now, I'm Mike Meyers.
I'm Richard Chapman.
And we are Two Bald Nerds. We'll see you all next time.